Raised here in Ohio. She earned an engineering degree from Purdue and the University of Michigan and an MBA from the University of Pennsylvania. She has a great background. It would take the whole chat if I gave you her whole biography. So I just want to welcome Annette to the show. Welcome, Annette.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, this was a great article, and I want to let the audience know that if you just go to Catholic Exchange and look for Annette Bergeon or Speaking Directly to the Hearts of Women for 30 Years, Why John Paul II's Message Still Matters Today. And Annette, that's what I want to get to right away, is this letter to women that St. John Paul wrote 30 years ago. What does it have to say to us today, and why should we go back and read a letter that's 30 years old?
Oh my goodness! Well, when he wrote the letter in 1995, I feel he was speaking. It was right before the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women, and he was speaking to address some of the issues, that were being discussed at the time about, the role of women and how women are. How we are able to activate and fulfill our vocation in the world. And he was aware of many problems, and he was writing to address those problems. But sometimes if you think about, where we are today, 30 years later, and all the confusion in our culture around what it means to be a woman, it seems like the problem has really escalated. And that in writing this letter in 1995 about, the role of women, what it means to be a woman, how women are, some of the challenges of being a woman back then, it almost seems like it was written for this moment in time, that he was prophetic when he was seeing how these problems were just going to be more and more pronounced as time goes on. And I feel like, in some ways, it's more difficult to grow up female today than it was when I was coming of age in the 70s and 80s. So I feel like he was prophetic when he wrote this letter, and all of the points that he made then are still relevant for our time today.
Very much so. So can you kind of explain to the audience, because he uses this word, the feminine genius, and the women's movement has thrown around feminine mystique, all this kind of stuff. But can you explain to the audience his concept of the feminine genius?
Yeah, the feminine genius was a way that he described those special gifts that women have, those unique characteristics that are distinctively female, and not that you don't see these characteristics in men, or that women don't have some characteristics that we normally associate with men, but there is something special and beautiful and unique about being a woman. And what I feel like our culture has really lost a grip on is this idea of complementarity, that men and women are fundamentally different, that we have different strengths, that we have different gifts. And, one thing that I think people really struggle with is the idea of equal dignity, yet still different. If men and women are equal, then we must be the same, i.e. interchangeable. And if we're not the same, then one has to be better than the other. We can't be equal. And John Paul II was saying, no. Men and women are absolutely equal in dignity, but we are still different. We have different gifts. And what he was trying to highlight by talking about the feminine genius was the gifts that women bring. And if those gifts are not allowed to be fully part of society and fully part of all economic, political, and social structures, then it really leads to an impoverishment of humanity, which is what he said in the letter.
Yeah. And do you think, Annette, that part of the issue is we struggle with his language, like today in our society, we don't define terms well. We see things different. We see because he talks about receptivity being one of the gifts of this feminine genius. And so often I think the feminine movement looks at receptivity as kind of passive. It's a passive thing,
Yes.
and and this
Yes.
shouldn't be a part of who we are. So how does he understand receptivity, and how do we bridge that language gap?
That's a really good point, because language does define very much about the way people think and the way people act, or the way we talk about things. So when he talked about receptivity, I think he was talking about the feminine ability to be open to the other. So we as women, they always say, if you take women and men and you put them in a room with a computer and a baby, all the men will go over and look at the computer, and the women will go over and look at the baby. And it's just part of the way that we're made, and our receptivity allows women to be more open to the other and be more sensitive to, other people. And that sensitivity and receptivity creates an environment that is more human, that is more able to allow for the flourishing of all people in that environment, whether it's a school or a corporation or a family. So this gift of women to be open to the other, to be sensitive to the needs of others, is something that society really depends on. And if women aren't participating in all areas of society, then that gift will be lacking where there are no women.
I find it interesting because I see that with my great nieces or my nieces and my nephew's spouses, that when there can be lots of kids in the room, but when their baby's crying, they know it's their baby. And I look at them like, how do you know that?
Absolutely.
Well, Annette, 30 seconds. What's the best way for women to engage this letter?
Yes, go to our website, www.endowgroups.org. We have a study guide on Letter to Women, which you can use with a group of women, because we don't want women just to read this letter. We want them to talk about it. We want them to discuss it. We want them to dissect it and to say, what does it mean for our society today, and what does it mean for them personally? So to bring women together around these important truths. John Paul II had the ability to help us understand ourselves and understand the world around us in a completely new way. So read the letter, download it from the Vatican website, or go to our website and get a copy of our study and dive in with women that you know.
That's great. Well, our guest today was Annette Bergeon. She's the CEO of Endow, and we've been talking about John Paul's Letter to Women. It's 30th anniversary. Go read it. It's amazing. Thanks, Annette.
Thank you so much.
So I really think this is something that women can be doing. Women are always looking for ways to get together. Get this letter. Go to Endow. Get the study guide and get a group of women together and read it. It's amazing.
Well, thanks for joining us for Monday's morning offering. God willing, we'll all reconvene tomorrow morning right here.